Since we have this chess set that is from Baku 1960, I would like to present you some of the games of Garri Kasparov from different books. In this case, I found this book by M. Udovich that it was printed in Moscow by a publisher I don't know. And luckily it ended up in US, and so we can enjoy it. The author Udovich took the approach of a chronological series of games from when Kasparov was very young to the World Championship. His first games were played in this Palace of the Pioneers, where little kids could play against legends like Karpov, Polugaevsky, Korchnoi, etc. And in this way to learn. The legends were obviously playing in simul, and the kids were obviously trying to beat them to bring their scalp home. So the first game we see, it's from 1975. School children from Baku came to Leningrad, and this time Garri was the first board, and he was playing white, Kasparov, against Polugaevsky. Polugaevsky, we know, he was a real good theoretician, opening theoretician. Kasparov opened with e4, c5, knight g3, e6, d3. Okay, so this d3 tells us that probably Kasparov have seen some of the games Fischer played in the beginning, where Fischer wanted to use only one opening, that was the King's Indian, for both sides. So King's Indian attack for white, King's Indian defense for black. d5, knight b1 d2, knight b8 c6, and g3. Here there is a diagram. Yeah, I think the diagram is probably in the next page. No, not really related to this game. I don't know. There are three diagrams, but I don't see the relation to this game. Okay. Here it says, playing a leading exponent of the Sicilian, Garri has made a psychological move by shifting to the King's Indian ground with a color reverse. Yeah, it's what we call the King's Indian attack. Bishop d6, bishop g2, knight g8, e7, castle, castle, rook f1, e1, bishop d6, c7. This is an interesting move. This is an interesting move. Why? Because he's not giving a tempo to white in case he pushes. At the same time, he could try probably to weaken that castle in some way. Queen d1, e2. The plan involving okay, so here the commentator Udovich says this plan with c3 and b4 is more active, more something that is more promising for white than queen on e2. Okay, but in 1975 Kasparov was what, 12 years old, right? So obviously 12 years old in that time especially. So after queen e2 there is b6, h4, knight c6, b4, knight d1 to f1, d takes e4, and now there is a kind of risky move by white, which is queen takes e4. So why this move is risky? Let's see why. Okay, obviously I hope you remember that there is this thing. Here it says a bold, risky decision which the young player had to take much earlier, because in case he would have taken with this bishop a6 was a possibility, yeah. And black would have had a good game. So okay, let's see what happened. The grandmaster makes a mistake. What does he play? This move. But why it's a mistake? Because it would have been better to play rook b8. So instead of taking there, it would have been better to play this move, he says. But it doesn't explain why. Because it says retaining all the threats, so it means that this cannot be defended. So he really played a kind of automatically, yeah. Okay, so instead, after knight takes e2, queen e4 takes a8, and knight c2 takes a1. And now there is knight f1 e3, which is a good move. White has sacrificed a pawn, but the black knight at a1 is clearly out of play. Okay. Whereas white threatens with bishop d2, okay, and after queen takes d3 there would follow queen takes a7. Okay, so he wants to play this to attack that, then queen takes d3 to try to get the knight out, but queen takes a7 attack this, so it seems not so good for black. Knight e7 f5 to try to free the control from there. Knight takes f5, e6 takes f5, bishop c1, g5, attacking the queen and attacking that knight at the same time. f6, rook e1 takes a1, f6 takes g5, knight f3 takes g5. This doesn't seem bad for white, honestly, right? g6, rook a1 e1, returning back to the center, and now there is h6, and finally there is a diagram, the number 3 diagram. Okay, it says, under the rigorous condition of a simultaneous exhibition, the grandmaster believed that the game was going his way, because after knight e6, bishop takes e6, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, rook takes e6, king f7, and black would have a superior position. But even then, Garri was capable of tapping in hidden tactical resources. So guys, this is the case that you get your little clock, turn it up and think for 3 minutes, and then try to find what is the move that white should play that totally damage Polugaevsky position. So obviously white is trying to play for a win, because as you can see, also if this is a little shaky, it could still be a draw, right? So what do you think white played in this position? I hope you paused the video. If you didn't, I continue and I show you the line. Queen a8, c6. Okay, so what is the problem here? That how does black continue, right? Because if it takes here, there is queen takes g6, king h8, queen h6 check, king g8, and then there is bishop d5. So it's a problem, because after queen takes d5, queen g6 check, king h8 and rook e7, and I think white wins. So guys, if you didn't see it with my finger pointing, now I will show it to you. However, why I do that? Because I try to help you visualize like it would be in a real tournament. Because in a real tournament you need to be able to see all those moves without moving the pieces. Now I will move them, okay? Okay, so h takes g5 we said, right? Queen takes g6, king h8, queen h6, king g8, and now there is the blow, bishop d5. Obviously you need to take, otherwise you have lost the game, but queen g6, and this obviously threatens checkmate. So what do you do here? Because you can't give it, you cannot stop it, right? Or you can, no, you can't, because also if you do this, oops, and this checkmated to the next move. So this was the reason why queen c6 was really a strong move. Now let me return back. So at this point black cannot play this. What can he play that is good for him? It seems that king g7 doesn't work. It's not a good move. The move that Polugaevsky played is queen d6. After which there was knight g5 e6, queen takes c6, bishop takes, bishop takes, takes, king g7, bishop c6, e8, obviously is trying to give check. Okay, let's see what he does. So it seems in this situation he should have played g5, and that would have led to a draw, but instead he played this move, f4. After which Garri probably tried to bite a little too much with g4, and Polugaevsky played bishop c7, d8, and here both players agreed to a draw. Notice that there is another game, the second game against Karpov, in which we have a young Kasparov. Okay. Okay. Now let's go on to see our games.